Hello, welcome back to the Mining Cabinet. I'm Drew. Thanks for tuning in. If you're a subscriber, I appreciate the support. If you're not, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button to support and help me grow the channel. Today we're looking at Kaspa pool. That's where I have my three KS0s, two KS0 OG originals, and one KS0 Pro. The reason this says 4.86 on number 90 is that I've been mining Cedra on this one. I've got over 10,000. I don't know what'll happen to Cedra, but not getting nearly as much as I was getting at first. I've been on it a little over a week, so figured that's probably enough. Let's stop mining Cedra and go back to solo mining Kaspa. So all three of these are solo mining, which has been really, really good up until about the last 5 days. My solo effort is still under 100%, so I'm still okay. But if we look at the blocks here for this time period from like the 18th, I got 2 blocks and 6% luck, 3% luck. Man, if I could just do that more often. The last one was 22% luck, but I guess now, averages are catching up. So I am waiting on a block now, but all is not lost. It's good. That's the one reason I also took the KS0 off of Cedra, put it back on here. Another thing I have done, if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link below. The PBFarmer free firmware. Now that does have a dev fee. I think it's 0.5%, which supposedly most of that goes to the Kaspa Foundation, I guess, the Kaspa devs. So that's good. But the exciting thing is on the paid Tswift firmware, I was able to get about 170 gigahash, and I'm getting 174. The interesting thing on PBFarmer firmware is that you can tune it. So you can tune your clock, you can tune your voltage, and I'm going to put a link down there, and I'm going to pull up there his screen in a minute. But please, 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 I'm not responsible for what happens if you click on the link and go to town. You need to read through his instructions very carefully, because whether you have whatever Iceriver you have, it has different settings or different increments for the voltage offset. So on a KS0 Pro, you can increment the voltage in 2 millivolt increments, but on a KS0, it's strange. Like the first increment is 7, and then you can do 3 more increments of 6 to get to 25 millivolts, and then you do 7 again. So again, every 25 millivolts, the instructions say to do 7, 6, 6, 6. So then if you were to get to 50 and need to raise your millivolts even higher, you'll go to 57. Which this one doesn't look right. That's funny, but it's working, so I'm not messing with it. But that's what the instructions say: 7, then 6, then 6, then 6. Because this should be so 57, 63. This should be 68. Unless this is my KS0 Pro. This is not my KS0 Pro. So you can see on my KS0 Pro, it's in increments of 2. And on my KS0 Pro, I'm getting way better than the Tswift. Tswift firmware, I was getting about 290. I'm getting 314. All this stuff is crammed into my cabinet out in the garage, which I've got a video where I completely took everything out of the cabinet, rearranged it with the 2 GPU rigs at the very top because they create the most heat. My 12 AMD GPU rigs don't create a lot of heat because they're on a lithium. I think every one of them is like 60 degrees or cooler. But my NVIDIA rig, it runs hot as hell. I've got some A2000s, which for such a small power card, they run really, really hot. They're efficient, but they just run really hot. I've got 5 A4000s. I think 2 of them need to be repasted because they just run really, really hot. And then I have a 3090 in there, which I have underclocked and undervolted or power limited to try to get it not to put out so much heat. It wasn't overheating, but you could just feel it was, it was pulling 400 watts, so it is a huge heater in there. So I cranked it down, have the temps manageable, I have a bunch of CPU miners, and you can see like my AMD rig, it is 53 degrees for the CPU. The cards, some of them are in the upper 80s for the memory temp, but the board temp is, you know, in the mid 70s, which is warm, but it's not incredibly hot, so I can live with it. But you can see I've got the 3090 cranked way down to 232 watts, and then my B36 rig is my AMD rig, and it is, yeah, so everything's in the 50s. Well, this one, of course, I think these cards are, well, these don't come up exactly in order that they're on each, it's an open frame rig in order on each level that they're in, but I would imagine that the ones that are running hottest are probably in the middle of the shelf, so, or the middle of the rail. There, but still 64 degrees. I think, was that the hottest one? 64. Yeah, and the CPU is 60. Then I've got a bunch of I have a bunch of CPU miners. This one's on Varus. It's 45 degrees. They're down on the very bottom. They're down by the air intakes, which I enlarged my air intakes from 12 by 20, basically a air conditioner filter inlet box, from a 12 by 20 to a 20 by 30. So that's more than, I believe that is more than twice as large. Let's see. 12 by 20 is 240 square inches. 30 by 20 is 600 square inches, almost 3 times bigger on each side. So I've got quite a bit more air intake now. So my exhaust fan is probably not being choked at all by the inlets. And the 20 by 30s don't have filters in them right now. I need to order some really high flow, good filters so I don't choke it down with the filters. We can close the Cedra. We can close Nirmata. I never even tried to mine that. I was just looking at it. I have my one Jazz miner is solo mining XP blocks, power block. I think it's power blocks, whatever it's called. What is it called? POW blocks. So I'm solo mining POW blocks. I easily hit one or at least 2 blocks a day, which is right around 7. Because yesterday it was 7.1. The days before it was 6.8. So not sure why it went up. Maybe the hash rates or the hash rate difficulty went down. To look into that. But let's look at. Let me get the link to the GitHub for the PBFarmer firmware. So the last version I downloaded was 0.7.1. So you can see you've got a different version for every different Kaspa miner. I'm thinking somewhere, I don't have anything bigger than a KS0, so I've never read what this KS0 alt or KS3 alts are, what they're supposed to do. If you got a KS3, you should read that. Just make sure you do not flash the wrong firmware. You could brick your Iceriver. So if you have a Pro, make sure you download the Pro. If you have just a regular KS0, update just the regular KS0, blah, 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 blah. You can download the source code. But if you go back to the main page, you have a table of comments, and it talks about the clock settings. So here it is. So here is your KS0 Pro is adjusted 2 millivolts, but the KS0, and I guess all the rest of them, are 7666. So 7, 13, 19, 25. Voltage control is not available in any type of KS3. It does have fan controls, which is one thing I did not like. One of my KS0s was defaulted to 0% fan, so if you restarted the miner, it would go to 0% of the internal fans. I've also put them in 3D printed shrouds. One of them has 2 miners in it with a 140 millimeter fan, and the other one has one. It has a 120 millimeter fan, and my temps, if we look at them, our temps are, unless they've gone bad today, are really good. and you get all this dashboard, which is awesome. If you get all this information, if you want to see, you can scroll back and forth. If we go down here, you still get the regular temperature information. So this one, the intake temp is 43°, the exhaust is 60, the chips are 72, and I think this is the one that's running the hottest. It may need to be repasted. What you may have to do. Let's see. This is my other KS0. It's the one that wouldn't overclock on the Tswift. So stock. This is like a silicone lottery loser. Stock, it was about 90 gigahash. So the only overclock that would work on this one was the 120 gigahash free firmware. I think from what was that Insider Threat, and it would only get about 107 gigahash, and it would kind of run hot. So at least with this, I've been able to tune it up this high. If I need to play with it more, probably needs more voltage. But if I tune it up much more, it just goes to 0, and then I have to like go back into the mining setting, turn it back down, and then restart. Sometimes go out there and power the miner off and back on. So just keep in mind, you could burn your chips up if you let this get too hot. But you see, this one's a little bit cooler, so I'm thinking it could somehow I can get it turned up a little bit more, get more out of it. But I mean, when I was originally getting like 91 or 92 gigahash and then getting like 107, man, 140 seems pretty damn good. I don't want to destroy the miner. My rejection rate's not terribly high. I think it is higher than the others. So that just means I think this one's just a poor batch of silicone chips. My KS0 Pro, yeah, so it's 0.24. My original KS0 is 0.19, and this one's 2.13. Not a lot, but I probably still need to tweak it out some more and see if I can get any more out of it. The KS0 Pro, the best I was getting on the Tswift firmware was about 275, 280 gigahash. I'm getting 314. I was only getting about 260, and the other night I kept playing with it, and it would go to 0. It'd have to be restarted, go to 0, have to be restarted. I finally got this. I'm kind of afraid to mess with it. I guess I can make a note of what the overclock and the voltage offsets are, and then maybe play with it just a little bit more. But here are your fan settings. You can do a target temperature, fixed speed, or ASIC controlled. I just do fixed speed 100%. I'm not messing with it. But that's the PBFarmer firmware. Like I said, I will link it below. But again, I'm not responsible for what you do to your stuff. If you burn it up, if you flash the wrong firmware, if you cook it, that's on you. I'm not a financial advisor, so if you don't have a KS0, I don't know if I'd even buy one right now. The prices haven't really come down, but the daily profitability is way down. And IB Link and Gold Shell and now Bitmain has come out with the KS5. I think they're just jerking people around. I think they've had that technology all along, and they were just waiting for, for something to happen that they could just dump it on the market, kill everybody else. And there is no way in hell I'd spend $35,000 on a miner for this, the Kaspa. I mean, now it's gone. The price has gone up. It's kind of retraced. I think we can see it here. So we've retraced back to 17 cents. I guess it got as high as 17.4. 17.4. We're at 17.1. I mean, yeah, if like in the next week this went up to like $1, yeah, then the KS5 at $30,000 is a good buy. But I bet if it goes up to $1 in the next week, you won't be able to buy one from Bitmain at $30,000 because they're going to bend you over and probably want $50,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 for it. So I just can't see. I would probably buy another KS0 Pro if I could find one for less than $400. Somebody that thinks that they've gotten all they can get out of the network and they're going to cash in and move on to something else. I would probably get another one, just solo mine. That's all I'm doing. Or for GPUs right now, every shitcoin out there now is Kapow, it seems like, and every new ASIC coin now is going to be a fork of Kaspa. I don't mean they're not duplicating Kaspa; they're just using the algorithm and forking it, and maybe tweaking the algorithm. So if they tweak the algorithm, you can't even use one of these on it. But Cedra just was a straight up fork. You could use it, but I just don't know what Cedra does. I mean, what does it do? I think now if you come up with a shitcoin, you put AI in the title or on your webpage right at the top, you talk about AI. It's just, it's just the term du jour of the day, trying to get you into it. As we've seen here lately, Vish AI, I don't know if it's a rug pull, but I know that it's gone to hell in a handbasket, so I quit, trying to mine that. And I never mined Nexelia, whatever, however you pronounce it. But evidently they've lost their entire blockchain, and whether it's just an innocent accident, somebody hacked them, or it's a rug pull, I'm not worried because I never got into that. So you do have to be careful if you're doing some speculative mining. Got to be prepared to take a loss. Actually, on any mining, you got to be prepared to take a loss, because who knows? We'll go wake up tomorrow and this decimal place could move to the right. So instead of being 17 cents, it's 1.7 cents, and we're all screwed. I would go out there and turn all of these off because they wouldn't be worth running. But still, with the blocks that have won, I've made $44 this week, which way more than pays for electricity to run these. So as long as I keep getting a few blocks a week, they're going to stay solo mining. If I could get a KS1 for less than $2,000 or another KS0 Pro for, like I said, less than $400, I don't think I would pay more than that. It's not worth it. But if I could get it for less than $400 and its share of this, say it's $10, I mean, that's still a long payoff, $10 a week, if that could be its share, but it's still a payoff. But the thing that a lot of people don't consider or do not know is, you're probably aware of the Bitcoin halving, that very soon the Bitcoin block reward will drop from 6.125 to whatever it's going to be, whatever half of that is, 3.0625, I guess. I can't math in my head right now, but you go from six Bitcoin and change to 3 Bitcoin and change. The price has gone up. The price has doubled from the beginning of 2023 to now. So the monetary value right now would still be the same, but for Kaspa, it reduces 5% a month, which I think is basically a halving a year, and Bitcoin halves every 4 years or so. So I know when I got my KS0s in October, the block reward was over 200, I believe, because I could get 800 Kaspa a day on a single KS0 not overclocked. And now I think the block reward is under 130. So every month it drops 5%. So got to keep that in mind. The block reward is going down, so you get less Kaspa per block mined, and the difficulty and network hash rate are going up because more and more people buy miners every day. It's just something to keep in mind. I don't think that until Kaspa gets over $1, it won't be worthwhile probably to buy more miners, because like I said, I just don't think that people are taking into account how rapid the block reward reduces. So that's something to keep in mind. Thanks for tuning in. Look for the other video where I show the rehab of the actual mining cabinet and how it basically is a 5-pound sack with 10 pounds of crap shoved in it. But I have gotten my temperatures more under control. I had the CPU miners and my Jazz miner sitting up top. The Jazz miner didn't care, but a lot of the CPU miners are really, really hot because they're basically marinating in the hot air coming from the GPU miners down below. It's basically a chimney, so the GPU miners are the heat source, the major heat source. Everything else is having to marinate in that. So I put that up top where that heat can get out quicker. And the GPUs, for the most part, don't put out nearly as much heat. They're down at the very bottom. The Kaspa miners down at the very bottom. So stay tuned. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great weekend. And like and subscribe and leave a comment. And I will try to add more videos.